Hello, on a beautiful Saturday morning in September 2023. Now, beginning of this month, I posted in an attempt to just take a break from Facebook. It didn't work. And I said, wake me up when September ends. Green Day. Yes. It's been an interesting month. It's been an amazing month. One of the things that's happening now, in fact starting this afternoon, is a recording session with Mr. Anthony James Westbrook Horn, more commonly known as Tony. Tony Horn. Who's Tony Horn? Well, if you're from Newcastle and you're over 30, you know who Tony Horn is. If you're from the Northwest, you know who Tony Horn is. If you're into football, you may well know who Tony Horn is. If you're at the University of Exeter in the late 80s, early 90s, and you listen to the campus radio station, which broadcasts from Devonshire House, just over there, to Berks, Marden, Dorriard, Lopez, Lafrauda, and if you're really lucky, Reed Hall behind me, which incidentally was built in the early 19th century and donated to the university, I think in about 1920. A lot of memories at Reed Hall. This is where the graduations take place. By the way, my phone battery is about to run out. Story of my life, really. So if I suddenly stop, it's because it suddenly stopped. Reed Hall, many memories. If you graduate from Exeter University, of course, to graduate you need to spend a lot of time in lecture halls and not spend too much time on the RAM or the U or on the university radio station. A lot of people have a lot of very happy memories of the grounds of Reed Hall. In fact, one of the most romantic experiences of my life was on a bench just over there in the middle of the night. Yeah. You know, I've had relations with girls from many nations. I've made passes at women of all classes. Getting Over the Ex is the title of the podcast. Who's the ex? None of your business. It's personal. I mean, it could be Becky from Stoke, it could be Susan from number 14 Malvern Gardens in London. Metropolitan line, yeah. It could be, no, it wasn't her that was the fantastic experience on the bench over there. No, the fantastic experience with her was actually just behind that tree over there. Yeah. No, it wasn't that. No, that happened at Marden, which is over there. That was somebody else. Still in love with the ex. Who's the ex? I mean, who was my first love? There's only one. Floella Benjamin. Who's Floella Benjamin? Well, if you're of a certain age, I mean, if you're over 40, no, if you're over 50, you probably know who Floella Benjamin is. If you're a student at Exeter in the 90s, you'll know who Floella Benjamin is. Why? Because in the 70s, she was a Blue Peter presenter. No, she wasn't. Play School presenter. Was she on Blue Peter? No. Play Away, that was it, with Brian Cant, one of the funniest names in show businesses. Show businesses, so I'm tired. Getting Over the Ex. Does the ex have to be a person? Could it perhaps be a university? The University of Exeter. The Streatham campus. Reed Hall. The Double Locks. The Vic. The GX Super Bowl. Dartmoor. Exmoor. The possibilities are endless. Come to this university and you will fall in love with the trees. And you'll fall in love with the people here, with the students. And if you're really lucky, you'll fall in love on a bench behind that tree just over there. I know I did. And I'm not the only one. Many, many things have happened here. Most of them great. Some not so great. I mean, there was a student in the year above me called Tom. He was a miserable git. He was the DJ at the Lemmy on a Saturday night. I think it was called Club Tropicana. Drinks weren't free, but they were 90 pence a pint, which that's the good news. The bad news, it was a pint of Foster's. yeah, it was as lame then as it is now. Of course, us beer aficionados discovered more exotic, non-Antipodean tipples such as Kronenbourg and Stella Artois. Ale? Nah. That was for fat old people. Like Frog, for instance. Was he fat and old? Well, no. He was just well fed because he wasn't a student. Was he old? No, he was probably about 36. It seemed old to us at the time. So, what is Still in Love with the Ex? Find out on this space and in many different social media outlets. Not on Twitter. Well, Twitter doesn't exist anymore. It's now X, isn't it? So are you still in love with the ex? Guess what? The phone battery never ran out. Normally, when you've got 1% left, it lets you video for about 30 seconds and then it just abruptly stops. Of course, when you're talking about being still in love with the ex, even the phone is curious as to what you're going to say next. What are Tony Horn and I going to talk about? Find out soon. Okay, that's the end of the video. Cut. I said cut. That's look, stop watching now. That's it. I said that's the end of the video. Go away. Leave me alone. Holland Hall. I had a romantic experience there as well. In my dreams only. But what did happen is even after I left university, I kept coming back throughout the 90s. So I was here 89 to 92. And many fantastic romantic liaisons happened. And that building over there, it's called Nash Grove. Wasn't even here while I was a student at Exeter University. It was built the year after I left. And of course I was still in love with the ex, who I got to know incredibly well in Marden Hall, just over there. And she migrated all the way from there to there. Of course I'm not going to say what her name is. And it may or may not begin with T, but no clues. It's personal, it's private. Is she a Facebook friend? Yes. So, mum's the word. Actually, her mother was interesting. Clydesdale Avenue. I would imagine there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are still in love with somebody that once lived on Clydesdale Avenue. Here's Duffy with Warwick Avenue. Bye. Oh, damn, I haven't got the record with me. It's in the attic, as are many other records, including the most elusive of them all in my collection. And the reason it's really elusive in my collection is that I only have a snippet of it on cassette tape. And it is Hats Off to Exeter by the fine people of Bad Homburg van der Heer. Now, who are the people of Bad Homburg van der Heer? Well, you know how a lot of towns, cities in the UK, around the world in fact, have twin towns. Exeter is twinned with, if you don't speak German, Bad Homburg. It's not bad, it's Bad. Bad is German for spa, basically, bath. Bad. So when Michael Jackson said, I'm bad, I'm really, really bad, he may have confused the Germans, because if you're bad, you're really, really bad, then you're more of a bathtub than somebody who's not so good. Now, of course, Germany has many, many connections with the university. One of the finest language departments in the country is right there, where, amongst others, Tony Horn studied French and Italian. And unfortunately didn't study very much French and Italian. He was incredibly fortunate to spend his second year, or part of it, in Padova, near Venice, in Italy. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Padova. Almost as lovely as wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen, of course made famous by Hans Christian Andersen. in the musical of the same name. Sorry, I'm getting a bit sidetracked. Don't be surprised if this happens on the podcast. Yeah, French and Italian. Si, mamma certo. The result? Well, it didn't matter that Tony Horn didn't study that much French and Italian, because he studied enough, in the words of the Manic Street Preachers, who played at the Lemon Grove in '92, just as they were getting going. Long before they said, if you tolerate this, your children will be next. They sang about motorcycle emptiness. And, sorry, I got sidetracked again. Oh yeah, French and Italian, yeah. So, oh yes, exactly. In fact, it wasn't even them that released the album Just Enough Education to perform. That was their friends, the Stereophonics. The Stereophonics. Another great Welsh band. You know, that's a phrase that I never ever used in my 3 years of being on air. At university, Radio Exeter was another great Welsh band. Because we were quite naive in those days. We thought music was Phil Collins and Genesis and Mike and the Mechanics. You see, we had very diverse musical tastes back then. No, I mean seriously. But seriously, of course, as Phil Collins said on many occasions in our first year. Because that was the name of his album, which had Another Day in Paradise. Which in fact was the first record I remember Tony Horn playing on Into the Evening back in October '89. For I would have started in October '88 had I not taken a gap year and gone and lived in Vienna and fallen in love with a girl called Veronica. See, I can mention her because she's not a Facebook friend, so I can say whatever I want. She's never going to see this. But it's okay, anything I say is not bitter and twisted. You know, was she my first love? No, as I said earlier, that was Floella Benjamin, but she was the first girl I hugged. No, actually, no, she wasn't. She was the first girl I really got to know. And that's enough information about Veronica. Of course, at the time I was going out with her, there was a great song in the charts called Veronica by Elvis Costello, I think without the attractions on that occasion. Was I more in love with Veronica or the song by Elvis Costello? No, it's Veronica. She was great. I mean, that's how you get your German fluent. Go and live in Vienna. Go with an Austrian girl for several months. And then visit her on several more occasions throughout the 1990s. Just like all the times I came to that building, funny enough. Many fantastic things happened in that building on the ground floor of Nash Grove. Yeah, I'm not saying who with. What I'm saying is, I've already mentioned I got to know her in the building just behind those. Marden Hall, which has been here for probably about 100 years. Okay, that bench I mentioned, where an incredibly romantic liaison happened with, funny enough, one of her best friends. I think I better stop talking. Goodbye. I think I've said too much. Bye. Bye.